in support of the motion is that I am so tired of talking about woke culture.
Here you are religious in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. In this day and age when people go, no, I'm not religious, I'm only spiritual. Yes.
His unfiltered remarks have sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, with many praising him for his courage, while others are predictably outraged. But McConaughey's words resonated far beyond Tinseltown. So, what exactly did he say that's got woke culture so riled up? Matthew McConaughey, known for his authentic and fearless attitude, delivered a scathing critique of woke culture during a recent interview, and it has left Hollywood's woke elites absolutely fuming. McConaughey, who has always danced to the beat of his own drum, took aim at one of the most controversial issues of our time, cancel culture, and he didn't hold back. We've got to stop this idea that you can't disagree or even have a conversation without someone trying to shut you down, McConaughey declared, diving headfirst into the toxic climate of modern-day discourse. He expressed frustration with how Hollywood and much of society have become obsessed with calling people out, canceling them for past mistakes, and policing speech. If you say something even slightly outside of the accepted narrative, you're done, he said. That's not freedom. That's not the open-mindedness we're supposed to champion. McConaughey's comments exposed the biggest hypocrisy within woke culture. The movement's claim to be inclusive, while simultaneously silencing and demonizing anyone who dares to have a different opinion. He continued, "This form of woke elitism is dividing us, not uniting us. We're isolating each other, and it's making it harder to have real conversations about issues that actually matter." What truly set off the woke mob was McConaughey's unapologetic stance on personal accountability and the danger of living in fear of being canceled. Everyone's walking on eggshells, afraid they're going to get canceled for something they said 10 years ago, he warned. That's not how you build a better society. Hollywood's reaction: the woke elites are furious. Predictably, McConaughey's no-nonsense remarks didn't sit well with the woke elite in Hollywood. Almost immediately after the interview aired, social media exploded with backlash from progressive actors, directors, and media figures, all criticizing McConaughey for daring to question the sanctity of woke culture. Some accused him of being out of touch with the current social justice movement, while others branded his comments as insensitive or dismissive of real societal issues. Actress and activist Alyssa Milano was quick to jump into the fray, tweeting, "Matthew McConaughey's comments are disappointing. Cancel culture isn't about silencing people, it's about holding people accountable. We can't just ignore the harm that's been done." Milano's tweet perfectly encapsulated the woke response, focusing on defending cancel culture as a tool for social justice, while sidestepping McConaughey's larger critique about the intolerance and lack of nuance within the movement. But what Hollywood's elites failed to grasp, or conveniently ignored, was that McConaughey wasn't arguing against accountability. He was warning that cancel culture has morphed into an unforgiving tool of destruction, where people are condemned for life over a single mistake or a difference of opinion. His message was about balance, holding people accountable while still allowing room for growth, conversation, and forgiveness. The heart of McConaughey's critique: woke culture's intolerance. One of McConaughey's most insightful points during his takedown of woke culture was about its inherent intolerance. Woke culture likes to pride itself on being inclusive and open-minded, but as McConaughey pointed out, it's anything but. "We talk about tolerance and inclusivity," McConaughey said, "but it seems like the only people we're being tolerant of are those who already agree with us." This is a criticism that many have leveled against woke culture, that it claims to celebrate diversity of thought, but in practice, it polices speech and enforces a rigid ideological orthodoxy. If you step outside of the movement's narrow framework, you're labeled as problematic, offensive, or worse, canceled. McConaughey argued that this trend is dangerously undermining the ability to have meaningful, constructive conversations about real issues. "What happened to agreeing to disagree?" McConaughey asked. "We used to be able to have different opinions without trying to destroy each other. Now it's like, if you don't agree with me, you're a bad person. That's not the kind of world I want to live in." This point struck a deep chord with many Americans who feel that woke culture's intolerance has created a suffocating environment where people are afraid to say what they really think. The constant fear of being canceled for even the slightest slip-up or misinterpretation has stifled free speech, and McConaughey's message was a breath of fresh air. He wasn't calling for an end to accountability. He was calling for a return to civility and nuance in our conversations. The media pile on. Woke reporters weigh in. As is often the case when public figures challenge the woke orthodoxy, McConaughey quickly found himself at the center of a media pile-on. Progressive outlets like BuzzFeed, Vox, and HuffPost published hit pieces condemning McConaughey's comments, accusing him of being out of touch and dismissing the struggles of marginalized communities. Headlines like "Matthew McConaughey's anti-cancel culture rant misses the point" and "Why McConaughey's critique of wokeness is dangerous" filled social media for days. These articles largely framed cancel culture as a necessary tool for holding powerful people accountable. But what they failed to acknowledge was the larger issue McConaughey was raising. Cancel culture has evolved from a means of calling out injustice into a weapon used to silence and destroy anyone who doesn't perfectly conform to the ever-changing demands of the woke agenda. One particular woke journalist even took issue with McConaughey's comments about free speech, writing, "McConaughey's defense of free speech is nothing more than a dog whistle for those who want to maintain the status quo of white, male dominance in our society." This kind of response only served to highlight McConaughey's point that the woke movement is quick to vilify and demonize anyone who questions its narrative, reducing complex arguments to simplistic accusations of privilege and bigotry. McConaughey's defense of free speech, why it resonates. What makes McConaughey's critique of woke culture so powerful is that it's rooted in a defense of free speech, an ideal that many people feel is under attack in today's hyper-politicized climate. In his interview, McConaughey emphasized the importance of open dialogue and the free exchange of ideas, saying, "We've got to be able to have conversations, even about the things that make us uncomfortable. That's how we grow, how we learn. Silencing people isn't the answer." For many Americans, this message resonates deeply. In recent years, there has been growing concern that free speech is being eroded by political correctness and the rise of woke activism. McConaughey's defense of free speech wasn't about giving a platform to harmful or hateful ideas. It was about ensuring that people can express their views without fear of being canceled simply for thinking differently. McConaughey's willingness to defend free speech, even in the face of inevitable backlash, has earned him admiration from people across the political spectrum. For many, he represents a rare voice of reason in an entertainment industry that has become increasingly dominated by woke ideology. Hollywood's double standard, McConaughey calls it out. Another key point in McConaughey's critique was the glaring double standard that exists within Hollywood. The actor called out the hypocrisy of an industry that loves to preach social justice, but often fails to live up to its own lofty ideals. Hollywood is full of people who talk a big game about equality and fairness, McConaughey said. But behind the scenes, it's the same old story: privilege, excess, and hypocrisy. McConaughey didn't mince words. He pointed to the fact that many of the loudest advocates for social justice in Hollywood are the same people who benefit from a system that rewards wealth and status. It's easy to stand on stage and talk about equality when you're flying around in private jets and living in multi-million-dollar mansions, McConaughey said. But what are you really doing to make a difference? For many Americans, McConaughey's willingness to call out Hollywood's hypocrisy resonated strongly. The entertainment industry's disconnect from the everyday struggles of working people has long been a sore point, and McConaughey's critique only added to the growing sentiment that Hollywood is out of touch. The cultural divide, woke Hollywood versus real America. At the heart of McConaughey's critique is the widening cultural divide between woke Hollywood and everyday Americans. While Hollywood continues to push increasingly progressive and politically correct narratives, much of the country remains deeply skeptical of woke culture's influence on entertainment and society. For many people, McConaughey's comments about cancel culture and free speech represent a pushback against an industry that no longer reflects their values. McConaughey's critique resonated with millions of Americans who feel alienated by Hollywood's embrace of woke culture. His call for more open dialogue, less division, and a return to common sense struck a chord with those who are tired of being told that their views are problematic or outdated simply because they don't align with the latest woke trends. McConaughey's unapologetic stance, refusing to back down. Perhaps the most refreshing aspect of McConaughey's takedown of woke culture is that he hasn't backed down. Despite the backlash from Hollywood and the media, McConaughey has remained unapologetic, standing by his comments and defending his right to speak his mind. "I knew what I was getting into when I said what I said," McConaughey said in a follow-up interview. "I knew there would be people who didn't like it, but that's okay. I'm not here to make everyone happy. I'm here to have honest conversations, and sometimes that means saying things that people don't want to hear." In an industry where celebrities are often quick to issue public apologies at the first sign of controversy, McConaughey's refusal to back down is seen as a sign of strength and integrity. His unapologetic stance has earned him praise from fans who appreciate his commitment to standing up for what he believes in, even when it's not the popular thing to do. Matthew McConaughey stand against woke culture. Matthew McConaughey's recent critique of woke culture and cancel culture has sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond. His defense of free speech, his call for more open dialogue, and his willingness to speak out against Hollywood's hypocrisy have resonated with millions of Americans who are tired of the woke mob's influence on every aspect of life. While Hollywood's elites may be furious, McConaughey has proven that he's not afraid to speak his mind and stand up for what he believes in. If you agree with Matthew McConaughey's message, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. What do you think about McConaughey's takedown of woke culture? Let's keep the conversation going.